everybody, and welcome back to Only Stupid Answers. This is the show where we answer your questions about movies, TV shows, comic books, KRAVEN the Hunters, and so much more. I'm your host, DJ Wooldridge. With me, as always, is Roxy Stryer. Hey, Roxy.
I've been craving this episode, DJ.
Ooh, well, this is one we got to see this one. This one being the subject of this episode, being KRAVEN the Hunter, starring Aaron Taylor Johnson, and
Ariana
DeBose, yeah, who's a really talented actress. In other, always, but you know, some movies are better. She is able to utilize her skills better, I think is what I'm trying to say. Listen, gang, we're gonna get into it, but it was a wild. I would say the movie is a wild experience, and our theater experience. Collectively, I think our theater, I don't know about you, Roxy, it seems like a lot of times you and I will go out of these screenings being like, wow, we were on a different page than the audience we were in. This was one like, no, we were all pretty much on the same, other than the clapping. We got some clapping that was like, what are you doing? Stop it.
No, but I think it was satirical clapping.
Okay.
At the end, I will tell the people, by the end of the movie, it wasn't just clapping, there was cheering.
Yeah.
Cheering going on for the end. And I at first was like, did you guys ironically love it, or are you clapping that it's over? I feel like I have more clarity on that after the Rotten Tomatoes score.
Yes, after the Rotten Tomatoes score. But first, before any of that, as always, if you want to check out Patreon exclusive content like what we're into, Mutant Academy, Spider-Versity, and so much more, you can do that over at patreon.com/onlystupidanswers. If you're listening to this on iTunes, please give us a 5-star review. As always, if you're watching this on Spotify or YouTube, we like to answer your comments. Here are some of the comments we got on our previous episode, which was about Creature Commandos. True Boss 9470 says Princess Alana is definitely sus, and I definitely think she's Clayface in disguise. Roxy, this comment made me feel very stupid because I knew Clayface was in the show, and that would make me feel less weird about the Rick Flag relationship if the swerve is actually Alana is Clayface in disguise. Are you caught up on Creature Commandos?
Yeah, I am.
How likely do you think this is that Alana might actually be Clayface, like a Clayface being a double, you know, kind of like a...
Well, why would Clayface be... Is Clayface really into Rick Flag Sr. in the comics?
Maybe he's just horny. Maybe he's just down the clown. Who knows how Gunn has reinterpreted Clayface? Who's to say?
I don't know. Yeah, I guess maybe, but I feel like there were some things in this last episode where, like, she's really at risk.
Yes.
And you would think then we would have seen.
We would have. I agree. I read this comment. I'm like, that's it. And then I watched this episode. I'm like, maybe it's not it.
Yeah. But that would be cool.
Yeah. I like this episode, by the way. G.I. Robot. R.I.P. Maybe. Also, Will Magnus. Will Magnus is in the DCU before Superman is. That's crazy. But anyway, we're not talking about Creature Commandos today. The other comment is Dark Commissar says, I'd say that Creature Commandos is a fun genre show. To call it the kickoff to the new DCU, though, puts a lot of expectations on it, which may cause some to judge it more harshly. As a standalone project, I thought it was a good time. And last, we have from Khalil's 4525, what non-superhero comics would you all like to see adapted into film? My personal pick is Saga from Brian K. Vaughan and Fiona Staples, but I'd cry if everything was shot on the volume. I've been a longtime reader of Saga, been picking it up since the first issue, and it's always something I think about because it's so successful. I think about what they would do to adapt it, and it seems like a very hard show to adapt outside of maybe animation. But to answer this question, I'm a big fan of the crime comic 100 Bullets, and I've always would love to see an adaptation of that. Keeping it in that wheelhouse, there's another crime comic called Stray Bullets that I think would be really cool. I don't know how well either of those would do, but I just think they'd be really cool. Roxy, are there any non-superhero comics that you would like to see adapted into a film or show?
Think of.
Okay.
Yeah, nothing that I can think of.
Yeah. Well, I'll say we'll keep it at 100 Bullets in Stray Bullets. Let us know in the comments, you listeners, what non-superhero comics would you like to see adapted into a movie and or TV show? Let's mosey on over to news. Oh, what's the news that's fit to print? We've got a couple of news stories. One is very pertinent to what we're talking about today. But first, we're going to start off with the fact that via Deadline, Chris Evans is returning to the MCU. Chris Evans, quote, Chris Evans is coming back to the Marvel Cinematic Universe for the Joe and Anthony Russo directed Avengers Doomsday. At this point in time, the role isn't entirely clear, but sources say Anthony Mackie's Sam Wilson's character will also return as Captain America. Evans in the Captain America costume seems likely. However, I guess it seems unlikely. Excuse me. Evans in the Captain America costume seems unlikely. However, it wouldn't be a shock if he reprises Steve Rogers. Roxy,
Yeah.
what do you think about this, and who do you think Chris Evans could be playing in Avengers Doomsday?
I think you go one of two ways, right? You make him good, and then going against RDJ is tough for him, or you make him not good, and then fan servicey. We've got our two good guys that are now not good guys.
Yeah.
So I'm not sure which way that they're going to go. I've read all the speculations. Obviously, immediately everybody was talking about who it could possibly be, who he could possibly be. Is there any world in which he's playing Cap? People were theorizing, and I think it's so fun to theorize. I think this is exactly what the MCU wanted.
Yeah.
Was to create buzz and have people guessing things. So yeah, I this would not have been the direction that I went in, but I'm not mad at it.
I think there's no reality where Chris Evans is not back as Cap in Doomsday or Secret Wars. I remember leaving Avengers Endgame being like, okay, well, the next thing you do is you do Secret Wars so you can bring these people back. Because, even before they went hip deep into the multiverse saga, you could use the multiverse as an excuse to bring back, or whatever, time. They'd already introduced time travel by Endgame. Whatever reason, there was no way these actors weren't coming back to these roles. And when you decide to do a project like Secret Wars, there's no way that when they decide to do Secret Wars, the picture, I can almost guarantee you, the picture in Kevin Feige's brain is Hugh Jackman's Wolverine, Tobey Maguire's Spider-Man, Chris Evans' Cap, Robert Downey Jr.'s Iron Man, all standing shoulder to shoulder. That's 100% what's going to happen. Like, there's no, he's coming, people are like, oh, who's he playing? He's playing Cap. He's going to play Cap. I know RDJ's been cast as Doom. He's going to be Iron Man again. That's 100% going to happen. That's just what's going to happen.
I don't know. Especially about the Iron Man part. I don't know. I think you're right, but I'm not sure. And they could surprise us fully and wholly. So, I don't know about your 1,000% theory.
It's definitely what's going to happen. In the chat, Leonard Kim says, at this point, I expect Black Widow to appear again. You should expect all of them, everybody to appear again. But I do think it'd be funny if they were like, they're all playing Doctor Doom. Like, RDJ's back as Doctor Doom. Chris Evans is back as Doctor Doom. Scarlett Johansson is back as Doctor. You know what I mean? We just go all in on this bit. Like, everybody that was dead was now Doctor Doom is what's happening.
You don't actually want that, DJ.
No, I don't. But yeah, this, I think, and I do think we're going to get variations of what we got in Spider-Man No Way Home, which of course in that movie we got 3 Spider-Man together. I definitely think we're going to get Steve Rogers Cap, Sam Wilson Cap, and probably maybe a Bucky Barnes, like through the multiverse, either Bucky Barnes Cap or probably more like Haley Atwell's Captain Britain. We're going to get a group shot of them. We're going to get a group shot of all the Iron people. We're going to get a group shot of all the Thors. Like that's what we're going to do. It's going to be Spider-Man No Way Home meets Deadpool and Wolverine, just one big like nostalgic jerk off fest. I feel pretty confident that's what Secret Wars is going to be.
Yeah. Okay. Well, we have you here saying it out loud.
Yeah.
Can't take it back.
Can't take it back. Can't change my mind. It's written in stone. So say we all.
Biblical.
Here's the other piece of news that I debated whether I should bring up prior to talking about KRAVEN, but the news dropped before KRAVEN, before you and I were discussing it in the theater when we were getting ready to watch KRAVEN. So I guess Sony saw the writing on the wall. This comes via IGN, who got it from The Wrap. Quote, Sony is reportedly giving up on its Spider-Man universe, which includes universally panned films such as Venom and Morbius, as Kraven the Hunter is projected for a worse opening weekend than the disastrous Madam Web. Leading talent agent told The Wrap that Sony has, quote, developed what they want to develop for now and is instead focusing on the next actual Spider-Man film under Marvel Studios, which has confirmed to star Tom Holland to begin filming in 2025. Kraven the Hunter, the latest and potentially final entry in Sony's Spider-Man universe, arrives December 13th. Of course, that's when we're recording this, and is already expected to be as meek a release as previous offerings. As reported by Deadline, it's targeting a mere 13 to 15 million at the box office in its opening weekend. By comparison, Spider-Man No Way Home pulled in 587.2 million in its weekend box office debut. So that's comparing making 13 million in your opening weekend to almost 600 million in your opening weekend.
Woof. Woof.
So without getting too much into our thoughts on Kraven,
yeah,
what do you think about this?
Well, I think that nothing screams we have absolutely zero confidence in this movie.
Yes.
Like canceling an entire franchise prior to the release of the movie.
Yeah.
Like a day before the press screening, which is the press screening date.
Yeah.
So you know that the Rotten Tomato scores are about to drop. And beforehand, you're like, no, don't worry. This doesn't matter. Don't even go see it. It's like, are they trying to do an entire tax write-off? Like, what is their theory here?
Yeah. You ever, when you're in a relationship and you have to start off the thing like, okay, don't be mad before you get into your thing. It's kind of like that. Okay, hold on. Before you see Kraven and you get mad at us, hold on a second.
Totally. So strange. I feel like they'd have been better off being like, we are announcing Kraven 2. Yeah. And you must go see, and then taking that back because this was just bad strategy. But I think that where everybody who has been watching these movies has known this was coming, where were they going to go? Mm-hmm. The only potential things that we could move forward with are with Lady Venom, which they kind of laid out. If we ever got Spider-Man, which didn't seem like it was happening.
Yeah.
And I don't know, like, what were you going to do with Morbius? What were you going to do with Madam Web? I guess there could have been a Madam Web 2. It probably would have been better than Madam Web 1.
Yeah.
Because finally, by the end of the movie, we actually had Madam Web. Mm-hmm. But no, I don't know anybody who's like really hoping for a Morbius 2, really hoping for a Madam Web 2. Or really hoping for a lady Venom. So,
I discussed this a little bit with Sal the other day. It kind of blows my mind. Like, if you recall, Roxy, Warner Brothers DC, after like Man of Steel, but definitely after Batman v Superman, was almost in a constant state of panic and free fall and people being fired and things shifting around. And those movies made money. Similarly, Star Wars post Last Jedi, always just people freaking out. And somehow Sony kept pumping these movies out. And the studio was like, nah, it's fine. Everybody making these decisions is going to keep, everybody that greenlit Madam Web, you're going to get to keep greenlighting these movies.
Is Sony in really, really bad shape right now?
I guess not. I guess maybe from selling, PlayStations, they're doing fine enough that they don't need to freak out about the fact that like they keep pumping out Spider-Man movies that aren't making them money.
No, they're not making them money, DJ. They're losing them a ton of money.
Yeah. Yes. Correct.
Not the Venom movies.
Yes, the Venom ones
are doing fine. Not the Venom movies, but the other ones. And less fine as they went. The first one made them a lot of money. The second one probably made them money, and the third one looks like it maybe broke even.
Yeah.
But the other movies have lost them a ton of money. This one included is about to lose them a lot of money. And I don't really know how you could continue this without completely gutting what you've done. Like, I actually was not like a lot of people. A lot of people really thought that it was so stupid to go with any of Spider-Man's additional characters, villains, without having Spider-Man here. I think that there could have been a good movie in Kraven. I think there could have been a good movie in Madam Web. I don't believe there's any character on the planet where you couldn't possibly make a good movie for them, because that's what writers are for.
Yeah.
Finding a story in something, even if it means changing parts of the character or whatever it means. So it's not a good excuse that you don't have Spider-Man. Of course, Spider-Man makes it easier.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Well, and to your point, I know I didn't put it in our thing, but this week the news dropped that they're working on a Clayface movie written by Mike Flanagan, who people know from Doctor Sleep, Midnight Mass, Haunting on Hill House, all that stuff.
The movie Hush.
Yeah, really talented. Hush is great. Doctor Sleep is great. A lot of really great stuff, and it's always one of those things that, like, in this situation, I'm like, fucking stop, dude. Because I don't want to see a Clayface movie. I want to see Clayface fight Batman. But of course, the rebuttal to your point and the rebuttal to that argument is, well, Penguin was real good. And it's like, okay, fine. I still don't think it's a good idea, but okay, fine. So
no one's listened to me about Mr. Freeze Walk to Remember, but whatever.
I did, Roxy. They just don't take my calls. Okay, I've tried.
Yeah, so rude.
I've tried, but
I'm not saying that, DJ. I'm not saying that I think these things are good ideas.
Yeah,
I'm just saying if you guys have decided as a studio, here's the direction we're going in.
Yeah,
we are making Venom movies, Madam Web movies, Morbius movies, and KRAVEN movies. If that's the assignment, then there is a world in which there is a good movie. You can't tell me there could never be a good KRAVEN movie. Yeah. I don't believe you, because I know what artists can do. Yeah. So I know there's a world in which there is a KRAVEN movie that's good.
It's not this one.
It's not what we saw.
It's not the world we live in.
Right. And if you tell me, here are the two parameters.
Yeah.
You have a $110 million budget, and it's a movie about KRAVEN the Hunter. Then I am telling you, there is a world where there could be a good $110 million movie about KRAVEN.
Yeah. Well,
it's just enough money that you could make it good.
It's interesting because so this is KRAVEN has weighed heavy on my heart since we saw it, and
me too, DJ, for so many reasons.
Yeah, and it's informed other things I've watched this week. I mentioned DJ Talks Trash. Sal and I watched Superman 3, which is not a good movie. And I just watched Beetlejuice. And they are very different films, and they very different. All three of these, KRAVEN, Superman 3, and Beetlejuice 2, all vary in quality significantly. But what they seem to share is this feeling of, Roxy, you watch Parks and Rec, right?
Yes, of course.
You know, love the Patton Oswalt bit people love to share, where he's like, he basically Thanos shows up in Star Wars, and he just goes on this rant about how, like, Marvel and Star Wars and everybody's favorite fan things are all one thing, and he's basically just throwing bullshit out. And we all have a friend like that, like, you know what they should do, and it throws all that stuff out, and you want to be like, yeah, I understand that you think all these ideas are great, but you know, when it comes to making like a movie, there's craft to writing. You know, there's a way to do this. But what you realize is there's people like that are able to circumvent the entire system because they're the money people. So in Superman 3's case, it's the Salkinds, who had this insane pitch for Superman 3 where he's fighting Brainiac and Mr. Mxyzptlk in the Middle Ages, and it's like, what are you doing? You're just throwing shit at the wall. But that's the guy. That's the only thing stopping them from doing that is they're the money people, and that's too much money. So they just cast Richard Pryor, and now suddenly Superman 3 is a Richard Pryor movie. And similarly, like when you watch KRAVEN, you're like, okay, so there's a bunch of creative and talented people hired to make this movie, and all of them were kneecapped by the people in charge. Like, I want this and this and this and this. Make it happen.
100%. No part of me is saying that the creators are who failed.
Yeah.
That's not what I think happened. I'm just saying there is a world in which this movie could have been good, which is why I felt so, how did you put it, DJ? It disturbed me this week.
I weighed heavy on my heart.
It was heavy on my heart because as a creator, you know, and as you, DJ, have struggled with this as well, you and I are both filmmakers, future filmmakers,
Yeah.
hopeful filmmakers. It's like begging for scraps, but you put your whole soul into something.
Yeah.
And I know that it's good because I have spent years of my life
Yeah.
on something that is like tested and ran through and pitched to so many people and ideas and collaborative and all of these things that make something art.
Yeah.
That's why so many brilliant indie filmmakers, their first movie, people are like, this was so good.
Yeah.
Because the story is good, right? So then you see something like this, and I think because we report on this stuff so much with $250 million, $300 million, Red One, things like that.
Wait, was Red One $300 million? Oh my God.
Million or something. It was crazy expensive.
Oh my God.
But we report on these things all the time.
Yeah.
And so numbers start to lose their meaning.
Uh-huh.
But when you think about $110 million, here's, as the people at home don't know, but as DJ does know, and not going to get too into it, I have had a very difficult week. And I had 3 hours of my week free.
Yeah.
That is what I had.
Yeah.
And with that time, I showed up for KRAVEN.
Yeah.
Because I knew DJ and I would be covering it.
Yeah.
But what a movie can promise at the minimum when you are giving your time to go see this movie is we're going to have a cohesive story.
Yeah.
That makes sense and keeps you slightly entertained.
Yeah.
You should promise to be, if you're a $110 million movie, you should be a C at the minimum.
Yeah.
You don't have to blow me away.
Uh-huh.
But you should at the minimum be average.
Yeah.
So it was heavy on my heart because it's like people, I know the creators got cut at the knees.
Yeah.
And I understand that. But people are going to give their time to watch this movie. And you could literally do anything else better with your time.
Yeah.
Like literally anything else. This director, DJ, is actually a really brilliant director.
It made some, Margin Call, of A Violent Year, Triple Frontier. Yeah.
This is a very strong director.
Yeah.
Even there was 3 writers. They have written some good stuff.
Mm-hmm.
So I'm not coming for them.
Yeah.
But the fact that this is what we saw on the screen, and it was $110 million, when there are so many brilliant independent filmmakers who, for a fraction, and when I say fraction, I mean
a rounding error.
a rounding error.
Yeah.
Could have made something that was worth our time. It's just frustrating that this is where the industry is right now.
Yeah.
Watching this movie more than any of the other movies, DJ, more than Madam Web, more than Morbius, I felt like, what are we doing?
Because what you're describing is, and I do think it's pertinent, we're going to get into more when you go into KRAVEN, it's like, you guys are messing up the easy part. You're messing up, because there's some stuff that's just basic. Like, and you know what? For me, I would probably be frustrated. Listen, I was frustrated for Marvel for a long time because a lot of them just nailed the basic stuff. You know what I mean? Occasionally get something that really elevated it, but they just, a lot of times they shot right for the middle of the road and they nailed that. And it's like, can we do better? And sometimes they could, but what I've realized is you could also do a lot worse. Apparently, some of these studios just nailing the basics is now an ask. Like can you just nail the basics?
That's what I'm talking about. That's the very least that you could do is be a C, which means you had structure to your film. As somebody who has studied scripts, as you have as well, DJ.
Yeah.
I think the first question I asked you, and again, we'll get more into this, but this is relevant to the entire franchise.
Yeah.
First question I asked you when we walked out of KRAVEN was, what was the midpoint of that movie?
Yeah.
Because all of these movies, runtime is shorter than they feel. And that
this movie felt like it took forever.
It feels like it takes forever.
Yeah.
And I actually didn't hate Madam Web the way other people did.
Yeah.
And I like the Venom movies. I don't know that I would call them good movies, but I enjoyed them. They do what I'm talking about right now, which is entertain me. So if you're going to entertain me, I can give up dialogue, structure, whatever. If I'm entertained, I'll give you a lot of leeway.
Yeah.
but there's so many movies that have done that haven't done that, and it's just like, of course they're not doing any more of these. They're losing money. They're not proud of them.
Yeah.
But what next, DJ?
We had the conversation after the movie where it's like, are they doing this on purpose? Is there some reason how doing this, making bad movies, benefits them?
Are they in on the joke? Is somebody writing this just for shits and giggles? Like,
Yeah.
here's a check. Ha!
Yeah, the end. So we reach out to the Discord for questions from you guys about Craven. Leonard Kim asks, in light of recent movies, I understand why fans are, quote, applauding Sony halting their live-action Spider-Verse, but is that a good idea? Personally, I'd hope that they focus on collaborating with Marvel and potentially bringing these Spider-Verse characters into the MCU, along with continuing the Holland Spider-Man movies. Obviously, that's a two-way street, and Marvel has to agree to do that too. I would say my answer to this is hell no. Don't. It's kind of like we had a lot of, and we're still debating because we haven't really seen it, with the DCU, the reboot. It's like, is it better to, should they just have done new movies with Henry Cavill and move forward, or should they do a reboot? And I think I see the merit in the reboot because now James Gunn isn't saddled with the fact that he murdered Zod like that, or that his dad got sucked into a tornado because of a dog. Like, we don't have any of that shit anymore. And I don't want any of that. If the MCU ever touches Venom, or I guess Madam Web, or more, I guess specifically Venom or Craven, I don't have to deal with any of this stupid baggage. I don't have to think about these movies ever again my entire life.
What movies does Sony, what properties do they own other than the Spider-Verse?
They made that awful. They do Men in Black, so that awful Men in Black International movie.
Men in Black.
They did the Ghostbusters, the most recent Ghostbusters movie.
Men in Black and Ghostbusters. Okay.
Yeah, and again, Spider-Man obviously is their big one. And I know Sal and I love to dunk on Sony, and so somebody in the comments was like, "What about some of these indie movies that they produced or something?" And I was like, I hear you, man, but like the big franchise stuff is mostly whiffs, so I don't know what to tell you. I don't know.
But maybe that's what they should do.
Yeah.
Like, maybe they should be the big wig A24.
Yeah.
And they should take, like, that should be their thing. There's so much room for you to be making Everything Everywhere All at Once's.
Yeah.
Like, there's just so that make a ton of money and get a lot of Oscar buzz. Be the HBO of movie studios then, in terms of then just make prestige content and see if that starts making you little income. Because then even if you're making $20 to $50 million movies, if they start doubling, if you get back $100 million, $250 million, like things like that, you're making way more of a profit than you are on these big things.
Yep.
And just start maybe doing things that you're getting all this recognition for prestige stuff, and then figure out what you're going to do with your franchises. Because even just hearing you say that, Ghostbusters, man, this most recent one, some people liked, some people didn't.
Yeah, I didn't hate it.
At very best, I think that this franchise is now kind of looked at as mid. I don't know anybody who thinks Ghostbusters is the bee's knees at this point.
Yeah.
So bee's knees.
Mm-hmm.
So and nobody likes the Venom franchise right now that I know. And Men in Black, woo. So what you're doing isn't working all around. Maybe this is time to really revamp. What does Sony mean?
Yeah.
Because Sony lacks identity right now for so many reasons.
Yep.
Say what you will about Warner Brothers. Say what you will about Disney. They do not lack an identity at this moment.
Yeah, I agree. So the comment is, this is from the video Sal and I did talking about, and this was back at when there was more talk about the Sinister Six movie happening as opposed to this, where it's not happening. Is the Sinister Six happening, whether we like it or not? This is from Carlos Ramos. Isn't talking about how Sony is an awful studio ignores how they produced the first major Luca Guadagnino American movies, and they were the first to see Frances Ha and give Greta a bigger budget. Sure.
Dude, Frances Ha was over a decade ago.
That is what I was thinking as well, Roxy.
I'm not saying that's not great, but
yeah, it's been a minute. I think all of these studios need to revisit, for one, just how much money they're spending on these movies, because it's the same thing. So you and I talked briefly, I think off camera, about Skeleton Crew. I liked episode 3 better than the first 2 episodes. I really
I'm
like.
only halfway through.
Okay, I like what they're doing with Jude Law's character, but
Okay.
it's a similar the thing that's similar to The Acolyte is how in the hell is this, in what gauge is this show successful? Because it's clearly all of the money. They've shoveled all of the money into this show, and I can guarantee you there can't be enough Disney Plus subscribers to warrant the amount of money that they shoveled in the show. It looks great. I'm not complaining. I'm just saying there's no way our gauge of success is so skewed. And same with these movies. We keep, thank God, in the same year that we got Argyle, that we're not talking about how Craven was like over 250 million. Thank God, like at least Sony isn't that out of its mind. You know what I mean? But like, to your point, it's like, yeah, guess what? Spend less money, make more money if it does well, and you're risking less. This doesn't seem like rocket science to me.
I don't know. Maybe have your company slogan be Sony, we make Oscar movies.
Yeah.
And like, just go after for maybe like 5 years, 10 years.
Yeah.
Just go after prestige films.
Yeah.
See how it goes.
Yeah. Rent out Spider-Man back to Marvel. Rent them back. Collect that paycheck, but let them do whatever they want. And then
do it for a short period of time. If you say, okay, 5 years, 10 years, whatever it is, like, and really, or I don't know, this feels like a meeting of the minds needs to happen, but it's the wrong minds.
Yeah.
What do you do? And that's really cool. If they are the ones who really gave Greta this bigger budget, and who knows what the deal was with Noah for that one, and whether they were trying to get him for something, or whether they were trying to, what kind of fucking thing at the time. This was the
because Frances Ha is actually a Baumbach movie, that was pre Lady Bird, I think. Anyway.
Right, but Greta's the star of it.
Yes,
so,
and she co-wrote it, whatever.
Right.
Yeah.
So who knows what actually was going on there, that they were like, oh, well, we need Noah for this, so let's take Greta for this. Who knows?
Yeah.
Even though Greta's my favorite.
Yeah.
Like, I just don't trust that Sony was like, she's got it.
Yeah. Turned out if they did bet on her, it was a good bet. But yeah.
Yes. But okay, so say that is their thing. Maybe their entire studio should be first time or second time directors and seeing what they can make.
Mm-hmm.
I'm not saying that this is the winner idea, but it's an idea that they like do something original, do something different, do something fun, do something that wakes you up in the morning and makes you excited for what you're making. Because clearly when you have to put out statements prior to your movies coming out and you're like, don't go see this.
Mm-hmm.
We're not doing any more of these.
Yeah.
You're not stoked on what you've done.
I think the problem is the people making those decisions, the thing that excites them in the morning is line go up. Did line go up? Then my life is worth living.
But line not going up.
Yes, correct. But I also think I feel like the reason we don't get more investment in these things is those little movies don't make line go up enough. Because infinite growth is a thing that we're pursuing, and apparently is not insane. Does not sound insane to people, even though it sounds insane to me. So I think this question from the Discord will segue us into our actual Craven talk. Jake Hefner says, so it sounds like Sony is actually giving up on their non-Spider-Man Spider-Verse after Craven. Does that mean it went out with a bang or with a whimper? And with that note, let us dive into Craven proper. We will start with spoiler-free thoughts if you haven't already gotten the gist of it.
I couldn't spoil this movie for you if I wanted to.
If I tried. The synopsis is Craven's complex. They love the IMDb descriptions, and these Sony movies are always like complex. It's like, what it does. Stop it. It's not complex. Craven's complex.
Dark and gritty. Complex, dark and gritty.
Craven's complex relationship with his ruthless father, Nikolai Kravenov, starts him down a path of vengeance with brutal consequences, motivating him to become not only the greatest hunter in the world, but also one of its most feared. Man, if that was the actual movie we got, that could have been a movie. It is directed by J.C. Chandor and written by Richard Wank, Art Markham, and Matt Holloway. Of course, it stars Aaron Taylor Johnson, Fred Hessinger, Ariana DeBose, Russell Crowe, and many others. And as of this recording, when I wrote this, it was a 16% on Rotten Tomatoes. I believe it's at a 14% now. Is that right?
Let me look.
Let's look. Roxy's going to bring that up, but I am going to compare it to Madam Web, which has an 11%, Morbius, which has a 15%, and the highest of these Sony movies is Venom 2 with 58%.
This does have a 14% as it currently stands on the tomato meter. It does have a 68% on the popcorn meter.
No, bullshit. Get the fuck out of here with that shit. No, it doesn't. Fuck off. You guys are lying. Stop lying on Rotten Tomatoes.
That is shocking.
Yeah. No, it doesn't. No, it doesn't. Did Craven get looped into the culture war bullshit? No, it doesn't have 68%. Stop lying to yourselves.
What does Madam Web have for popcorn meter?
Let's see. Let's see if
I'll
we
look right now.
Look right now. Because no, wrong, incorrect.
Madam Web on the popcorn meter has 55.
Okay.
Which is pretty high as well.
Yeah, people are dumb, man. people. I don't want to generalize, but people are fucking dumb. Sorry, I don't mean it. I'm sorry. Oh my god.
Okay, I'm ready to start, DJ.
Let's get into it. Let's get it. Yeah, Roxy, go for it.
All right. This is maybe the hardest thing about Craven. The first 10 minutes of the movie completely fooled me.
Yeah. There's a reason they released those 8 minutes online. Yeah.
It fooled me into thinking I might like this movie.
Yeah.
The trailer fooled me into thinking I might like this movie. I turned to DJ before this starts and I said, is this movie possible it's going to be any good?
Yeah.
Because here I am thinking, maybe, just maybe.
Yeah.
And then we start the movie, and by far and away, the first scene is the best scene of the entire movie.
Mm-hmm.
The opening sequence is the best of the entire movie. And so I'm looking around like, this could be decent.
Yeah.
They lied to my face.
Mm-hmm.
They did not deliver on what they promised. And the only saving grace of this movie is Aaron Taylor Johnson shirtless.
Yeah. Oh, and he's shirtless so much of it.
That is and thank God for that.
Mm-hmm.
Because, first of all, if you guys have been following me for years, you know I interviewed him for Collider, and you know I really liked him and his wife, Sam. They both came in together. They were awesome. Such a cute couple. And I know there's been controversy around that, but they were so cute together,
mm-hmm.
and they were so loving, and they were so kind and generous with their time. So I really root for him because he seems like one of the good ones.
Yeah.
And I think he's talented.
Yes.
I think he's totally got leading man energy. I just watched the Kick-Ass movies for the first time.
You hadn't seen them before? Yeah.
I hadn't seen them. Thought those were awesome.
Yeah.
Well, the first one was awesome.
First one's awesome. Yeah.
Yep,
Second one
was awesome. Well, the second one makes Craven look like,
so
yeah. I would take that any day. But I think that I really, really want him to succeed. He is successful, obviously.
Yeah.
But he's really talented. Ariana DeBose, unbelievably talented. The entire cast, I won't lie to you guys, is very talented. This is not any of their fault. They're all gorgeous, beautiful people to look at.
Mm-hmm.
That helped get through the 5-hour movie that was an hour and 40 minutes, but was 5 hours.
Yeah.
Yeah, man, this I didn't crap on Madam Web. I thought that movie was kind of mid. Yeah. I didn't shred it. This is the first time in a long time that you guys are hearing me really not be able to speak positively about a movie.
We had a discussion after. I want to co-sign that, and not to say there weren't early warning signs in those first 8 minutes. There's a scene where he's like petting a tiger rug, and you're like, that's a weird choice, but
absolutely there were signs.
But yeah, and then you realize, but like, hey, if we can get past some of this stuff, we could have a real winner on our hands. It's like, oh no, that's everything around that part was the outlier. The weird tiger petting choice, that's the movie you're watching. That's where we're at. But to your point, when I saw those first 8 minutes, I'm like, this would be a great opening to a Spider-Man movie. Like if you opened with this, by the way, in this movie, this is the guy Spider-Man's going to be fighting. I was like, that's a cool movie. Because right after that scene, I was like, man, Craven is actually one of my favorite Spider-Man villains. I think there's a lot of mileage in Craven. I think you could make a really dope movie where Spider-Man fights Craven. And I still feel that way after this movie. I don't know that Craven in and of himself has the juice to carry a movie. But on his own muscular shoulders. But we had a discussion after the movie of, is this worse than Madam Web? And I think I do think it's a coin flip, basically, because there's some truly baffling creative decisions in these movies. Like, just different, and I think it's mostly the way they're constructed. You really feel like whatever vision the creative team went into with got completely derailed by, one assumes, like an avalanche of studio notes or whatever, because it doesn't feel cohesive in any sense of the word. I think I would argue that Craven is better than Madam Web in that some of the action scenes are not awful.
Yeah, as an action movie, Craven's better, but here's why it's not better.
Okay, me. All right.
Did you find Craven to be the creepiest person of all time?
Elaborate. It's hard to say, because that would imply that I had any sort of impression of Craven as a person. But which I think is a bit of a stretch for me, but I based on a few scenes that I recall, I see where you're coming from, I feel like.
So keeping it's not spoiler free, but pretty spoiler free. Mm-hmm. The relationship that Craven and Ariana DeBose's character have is, as a woman watching it, I was like, there's not one chance on the planet that a single woman read the script. There's no world in which he would be speaking like that to a woman, let alone a extremely smart, successful woman. Yeah. Mm-hmm. And she wouldn't run in the other direction.
Well, it's also, I don't keep going because I don't know how to spoil it.
You guys are asking me to believe that he's done the things he's done.
Yeah.
Comes to her and she knows the things he's done. Mm-hmm, mm-hmm, mm-hmm. And she still takes the steps she does following that. Mm-hmm. That was so, the whole movie is obviously unrealistic, but that was so egregious to me that I was like, what are you guys actually trying to say here?
So I don't know that I can get any further with this without going into spoilers. So I think we're going to go into spoilers. Spoiler-free thoughts is movie bad. Glad we're not doing more of these. Spoiler thoughts. Because when you talk about Ariana DeBose playing Calypso, that's a good gateway into just some of the baffling decision making that's going on. So for people that may not be familiar, one thing I do like about this movie is they're not afraid to pull characters from the comics. In fact, one might argue they pull too many because we've got like 3 antagonists in this movie, and they're all vying to be the main antagonist. It's not like Spider-Man Homecoming did a good job juggling this, where it's like Vulture has henchmen that are also villains from the comics. It's like, yeah, perfect. That's how you do that. This one has Rhino, who's like, I'm the main bad guy. And then Foreigner, he's like, actually, I have a lifelong grudge against Craven, so I should be the main bad guy. And then Russell Crowe's over all of them being like, I'm his dad, so I'm the main bad guy. And it's like, fucking movie, pick one. Pick a lane.
I can't believe you and I haven't even mentioned Russell Crowe yet.
Russell Crowe. Oh my God. I do like.
Credit to Russell Crowe. He took this role seriously, I feel.
Yeah.
Like, his accent work was really strong. He's a good performer.
Russell Crowe's a star, and I love this era because I don't know if you saw The Pope's Exorcist, but it is nonsense. No. It's nonsense, and he throws so much, like, he's just no fucks given, man. He's just taking that paycheck and he's just throwing his full movie star weight behind stuff. It's like, good for him. Yeah. But so the setup for this movie is that, and it's not even the setup for the movie. It's just his origin, his stupid fucking origin. How Craven gets his animal powers, which express themselves in sometimes cool ways, a lot of times baffling ways, specifically his fucking bird vision or whatever it is. He gets it because he's attacked by a giant lion on his animal hunt. And Calypso is there as a child and gives him some sort of, magical potion or whatever. Now,
Pausing on things that I like for a second, I really liked that he wasn't going to shoot this lion, and then the dad does, and that's what causes him to attack. I thought that was smart.
yeah. It is funny that Craven's big thing in the comics is that he's the world's biggest game hunter. And this one, he's like, actually, he's an animal activist. It's like, well, that's not that's a different character then.
Right. I just thought it was a smart way to get the audience to like him as the protagonist of this movie.
Correct. Yes.
So that I was like, okay, I can get on board with that.
So for those that aren't familiar, Calypso is traditionally Craven's love interest in the comics. She's very associated with voodoo and the occult. And I do understand the instinct of having like our one person of color lead not necessarily being associated with that stuff as directly. So the decision that was made is that she is now a high-powered, we went from like voodoo priestess magic villain to high-powered lawyer in London. But wait, even more confusingly, she is still just named Calypso. She doesn't have a first name. She's like Madonna or Cher or Beyonce. She's just Calypso, but she's supposed to be a lawyer. Could you imagine calling your lawyer and their name is just Calypso? And it's like, then what are we doing? And this, I bring this up because I feel it's emblematic of the decision making in the movie. It's like, well, okay, either she's Calypso and maybe you make her an underworld figure. Maybe she's a drug dealer or something, because her function in the movie is she has contacts that Kraven needs. So maybe you distance her a little bit from the magic, but you're still associated with potions and chemicals and stuff like that. Maybe she's in the drug underworld, something like that, where being named Calypso isn't weird as fuck, as opposed to she's a lawyer, like one of the most prestigious professional gigs you can have. And she still somehow is underworld content. It's just such a weird. And then they have the audacity, Roxy. They have the audacity that at the end of the movie, she puts an arrow through a guy's eye, and she's like, "Well, some of us have secrets too." What are we doing? What is what are we trying to apply with that?
You're not the only one with secrets, and I was like, "Huh."
No, you told me you abandoned all that plot line, and now we're trying to last minute. Like, by the way, maybe she is closer to the Calypso from the comics. Fuck off. No, she's not. She's a lawyer. You said that's what you said to me. She's a lawyer.
Yeah. That was so bad.
Yeah.
That was so bad. It was such a bummer. I much preferred his relationship with his brother.
Yes, Dimitri.
Than I did his relationship with Calypso.
Yeah.
Good year for this guy, man.
Yeah, because he was also the creepy weirdo, creepy little guy in Gladiator 2. He's the creepy little guy in this.
Yeah, good year for him.
Yeah.
He plays rich, like a little annoying, very well.
Yeah.
I like this actor, but I really thought that Calypso was unnecessary in this movie from what we saw. We can get people's names elsewhere. And I was more interested in the storyline with his brother, feeling like he had abandoned him.
Yeah.
Wanting to be there for every birthday. So those were things I was interested in. The end of the movie completely debunks any part of me being interested in that because of where we went.
Yeah.
And it completely flips.
We have to build him up to be the villain of the second movie that we're not making.
It was so unearned. That shift, that pivot took place in 2 seconds. And I understand for comic book fans, they really wanted to get there, but you didn't show me anything leading up to that point at all.
Yeah. I think a smarter movie. So for people that don't know, we're in spoilers. Dimitri, I believe in the comics, the Spider-Man villain Chameleon is Kraven's cousin. In this, it's his bastard half-brother. And so we knew going in that this actor was playing Chameleon. I think a smarter movie would have been like, oh no, he's the victim. Oh no, he's been kidnapped. And he's like, actually, because of my frustration with you, I've been the bad guy this has been a whole plot.
Organized it.
Yeah.
Right.
Because guess what? I'm the chameleon. And then he does, you said you liked the lion bit. As a fan, I did like that we got the comic accurate chameleon face.
Right. And there were so many ways we could have gotten there.
Yes, correct.
The way they chose felt so out of left field. And if you didn't actually know who Chameleon was and didn't care,
yes,
it was a brutal reveal.
Yeah.
Woof.
Yeah.
So yeah, but I did like their relationship more than I like. I was more interested in the brother-father dynamic than I was, and I'm pointing that out because lover of love, shipper of
Yes.
ships. If I like the romance, I will forgive almost anything. And I not only did I not like it, but it was so offensive that I actually preferred every other storyline in relationship.
To Roxy's point, we introduced this plot. So as a little girl, Calypso saves young Craven's life. And then 20, 30 years later, he's like, by the way, I found you. You're the girl. And it's kind of like, why now? Well, because the movie, do you see the camera crew? The movie started now. So now's why I find you now, as opposed to like us having known each other over these years and stayed in touch or something.
I just killed all of these people. I thought that's what you would want.
Yeah. I do like the crossbow bit with the guy. I like that bit.
Yeah, that was fine.
Yeah. There's moments.
On the doors, on the back of the doors.
Yeah. Exactly. That little reveal. It's like, okay. Yeah.
There was a few of those where I was like, that was a cool kill. That was a cool action sequence. The one in the water with the plane.
Yeah.
Or the helicopter. There were some things where I was like, that was cool because it's $110 million movie. So you made that look cool.
Yeah.
How'd you feel about Rhino?
So the other thing is, people that listen to Spider-Versity know that I've kind of slowly realized that I actually think Rhino in the comics is one of my favorite Spider-Man villains. I like Roxy. I like my big dumb idiots. I like those as villains. I like I think there's stuff you can do with those types of characters. And Rhino is a classic big dumb idiot. And we got a version of the classic Rhino thing. I don't know why we keep making Rhino look, because the last time we got Rhino was Amazing Spider-Man 2 with the big mech armor. And not always, just for some reason, we can't make Rhino look cool. I thought it was pointed out, I was reading a review that pointed out that this actor that played Rhino, Alessandro Nivola, was also in Face Off with Nick Cage. And they compared his performance to almost Nick Cagean, which I see. And the times that he really hammed it up, I didn't hate, because it made the movie go by. Something was happening. It's like dangling keys in front of somebody. I'm bored out of my mind. So anytime something weird happened, I'm like, oh, okay. I guess I hated it. I guess what I'm trying to say is, like the rest of the movie,
I did not like the choices of this actor, and I don't want to blame him because I think this was a direction, acting.
Yeah.
I think there was a lot of things involved here.
Yeah.
But he wasn't a big dumb idiot. They tried to make him the smartest person in the room.
Yeah.
Which was a really odd choice. Mm-hmm. And then he had that like weird joking laugh and thing he kept doing.
Yeah.
I didn't know whether I was supposed to be afraid of him. Like, I could not tell what this movie wanted me to think about him. If I was supposed to feel bad for him.
Again, I think a lot of competing impulses. Because, and again, I think in that, where are we throwing our weight around? Are we throwing our weight behind Russell Crowe being the big bad? Are we throwing our weight behind this guy being the big bad? We also haven't really talked about Christopher Abbott as Foreigner.
Oh, yeah.
Who also, like, comes in as like, and this is a guy from the comics. I actually own specifically this, if you're watching the video, this comic on screen. It's an issue of Spectacular Spider-Man, I believe. I actually own this comic. Roxy, you may be surprised to learn that in the comics, the Foreigner is just an assassin. He doesn't have a weird hypnotic ability, which, by the way, later in the movie, we introduce a hypnotic drug. So he doesn't need to have this ability to fight Kraven, because he could have just used the drug and that fight sequence would have played out the same.
Yes. However, I do love this actor, and the 1, 2, 3 thing it worked for me.
All 6 times that they did.
No. But compared to some, like, I much preferred him to Rhino.
Yeah, but it was one of those things that he comes in and it's like, okay, so this is going to be top henchman guy, and he's like, no, actually, I too have a backstory that involves Kraven, and it's like, fucking stop, fucking calm down.
Totally.
We already have 2 main villains in here. What are you doing?
Yeah, he was 100% unnecessary for the movie.
Yeah,
I just preferred him.
Yeah, and I like that actor too. He's going to be in the new Wolfman movie from Lee Wannell. I think he's really great, so it's good. And I think that's another conversation we had coming out of the movie. It's like Roxy's an actress. Maybe you can speak to this better than I can. What? Why would you agree to this move? Especially if you're Aaron Taylor Johnson, but even if you're Russell Crowe or Ariana DeBose or Christopher Abbott,
imagine,
you don't need this. You don't need Craven, I don't think, do you?
DJ, I have to imagine that here's how this is pitched to you if you're not a nerd.
Yeah.
This is Spider-Man's biggest villain. And what Joker just did, we are doing something like this. It's going to be called Kraven, except we're going to figure out why people should actually love you and root for you. He has this tragic backstory where he's almost killed and it gives him these powers. And he has a horrible family life and all this guilt about his brother. It's very complex.
It's complex. It's complex.
And if you, and it's $110 million, so we're going to give you a lot of that money.
Yeah.
If you're Aaron Taylor Johnson, I feel like you would say yes to that.
Yeah. So you're saying they put more energy into the pitch than they actually did writing the movie.
I am saying that.
Yeah.
If I'm Aaron Taylor Johnson's reps, I'm saying, man, they're paying you millions of dollars. You get to be the lead in the movie. You're going to look like a star.
Yeah.
Whether this movie does well or not, you made your money, honey. I guess let's go for it.
Yeah, man. I guess I'm with you because I actually find I like Aaron. I feel like in our circles, Aaron Taylor Johnson tends to get shit because he tends to do movies like this. But I think he's good. He's going to, you know what though? He's going to be in that new 28 Years Later movie.
Yes.
And that's from Danny Boyle, who I like a lot of his movies. And I don't know if you saw the trailer, Roxy, but it is dope. It is a very strong, I don't know how the movie's going to be, but this trailer is very strong. And it's like, yeah, good Aaron Taylor. Do Danny Boyle movies. That's a bet. That's a better bet. Go do movies with him.
And then I want you to remember that the second lead in Venom and Venom 2 is Michelle Williams. So why'd Ariana DeBose do this? I don't know. Why'd Michelle Williams do this? It's got to be the paycheck. And she probably likes the director.
Yeah.
I don't even think they probably showed them the script.
You're probably right. We need to change that. I know we like to keep these scripts on lock, but we need to start showing these actors the scripts so they can start making informed decisions. Well, listen, I think it's safe to say that we didn't like this movie. I want people to get back to, like we talked about with James Gunn, and who knows how true this is, but when he says stuff like, yeah, script first, then release date and all that stuff, like, yeah, man, yeah, good. good.
Yeah.
Whew. So, Roxy, if the kids at home want to find more of the stuff that you're working on, where can they find that stuff?
You guys can find me everywhere at Roxy Stryer, and also Crust is out right now on Amazon. World Girl Wednesdays every Wednesday night.
Is Crust made for $110 million?
Yeah.
Yes, actually.
Yeah, and I got a lot of it.
Yeah, so there you go. Go check out
why
Crust.
I'm stressing over my computer.
Yeah.
I'm so rich.
So go check that out. Roxy did have a computer situation, so if you want, consider going over to her Patreon. Go and support the World Girls. Go do that. You can find me at DJ Talks Trash. Go check out my personal channel for shows like Krypton Academy, where Sal and I talk about Superman movies. You can support this show and get exclusive content over at patreon.com/onlystupid-answers. And you can follow us everywhere that matters at Only Stupid Answers, but on Twitter/X.
You got the vowels from stupid.
And we will see you next time.